when a thundering punch like this,
And look above it.
or this,
Inaczej zbudowany.
makes your opponents cower in fear. You know you are the greatest. These are the times when the strongest man destroyed his opponents. In a clash that echoed like thunder across Polish soil, two titans met inside the cage. Mariusz Pudzianowski, the mountain of muscle-turned warrior, and Łukasz Jurkowski, a seasoned veteran with fire in his eyes. What followed was not just a fight. It was a war of lungs and wills, a battle forged in grit, strategy, and raw power. From the opening bell, both men charged forward like gladiators summoned by destiny.
Wysokiego kopnięcia, ale to lewy prosty robi robotę. Starał się hakiem w wątrobę trafić Pudzianowskiego, ten przybiera.
Gloves cracked against flesh, takedowns were wrestled for like ancient relics, and neither gave an inch.
Brawo, kiwka, przerób, przechwycenie nogi. Ma Pudzian to, co chciał.
Aby Jurasem grzmotnąć o ziemię.
No i w tej chwili
Jurkowski showed experience, sharp with his timing, steady under pressure. But Pudzianowski, he was relentless.
bliżej. Jeżeli znów zdaje się, że te low kicki robią już wrażenie.
Trochę poniosła chyba fantazja Jurasa, bo zdecydował się na takie techniki, które są ryzykowne.
No longer the bodybuilder uncertain in deep waters, he had transformed into a machine of patience and precision. The rounds ticked by, but while one man began to fade, the other found fuel in the fire. Then came the final chapter, the third round. Jurkowski, breathing heavily, dropped his guard just long enough.
Niebywałe wręcz emocje.
To jest niepojęte, że potem był w stanie wykonać takie akcje, ale
Będzie, żeby Łukasz to przetrwał.
cokolwiek się dzieje, to szaleją. Tak jak ty mówisz, nie ma
Łukasza, jest to walka o przetrwanie. To jest ze strony przerwać. Ręce wykluczone, koniec walki.
And that's all it took. Pudzianowski launched forward like a battering ram, blessed by the gods. Punch after punch landed with crushing force. There was no escape, no answer. The referee stepped in. The war was over. TKO. But perhaps one of the memorable fights Pudzianowski had was when he stood across from a mountain of a man. Serigne Ousmane Dia, known to the world as Bombardier. At 330 pounds, the Senegalese wrestling colossus looked less like a fighter and more like a moving fortress.
Seesaw that's going to change in an instant.
Before the dust could even rise, Pudzianowski made his move. With no hesitation, no fear, and no wasted motion, he launched forward like a missile. His right hand, a hammer forged in steel and fury, found its target.
Technique, chop the legs, and look above it.
In just 18 seconds, Bombardier hit the canvas like a fallen tower. The referee rushed in, signaling off what could have been a war, but ended in an instant.
An absolute knockdown!
Just like that, it was over. The arena erupted. Pudzianowski had delivered one of the fastest knockouts of his MMA journey. Of course, who would ever forget the debut of Pudzianowski in MMA when he dismantled Marcin Najman? Pudzianowski came out like a battering ram. No feeling out process, no patience, just raw aggression. He stormed at Marcin Najman and immediately started chopping at him with brutal low kicks, each one landing with the kind of force you'd expect from a man who once dragged trucks for sport.
Mariusz Pudzianowski, ale mocny low kick w jego wykonaniu. Kłopoty Najmana!
Najman, already on the back foot, reached for a clinch, maybe trying to stall, maybe praying for a breather. But Pudzianowski wasn't having it. He muscled him straight into the rope, unloaded more kicks, and then slammed him to the canvas with a takedown that felt more like a seismic drop.
Kiki to wymyślił Mirek Okniński.
Pudzianowski!
On the ground, it got worse. Pudzianowski planted himself on top, his chest crushing Najman's attempts to breathe or move. The hammer fists came down fast and heavy, thudding against arms, gloves, skull. While that was satisfying to watch, it's another level of satisfaction when Pudzianowski faced Butterbean Esh and brutally destroyed him. You see, Butterbean had heavy fists, thick frame, and decades of brawling experience. But our main hero wasn't impressed.
Czyli najcięższe wcielenie zła w ringu.
They traded early shots, testing range. Pudzianowski muscled his way in, locked up the clinch, and used every ounce of that world's strongest man pedigree to drag Butterbean to the canvas like a sack of grain.
Bijatyki z Butterbeana uciekać z narożnika.
Tak jak pierwsza klasa. Wejście do nogi. Jest Mariusz Góry.
Pudzianowski atakuje.
Musi minąć tą zasłonę.
Once on top, it got ugly fast. Pudzianowski postured up and let the fists fly. Heavy, relentless shots bounced off Butterbean's guard, until even that couldn't save him.
Mariusz Pudzianowski. Dużo ciosów młotkowych. Razem Pudzianowski pada na tę agresję. Jeżeli nie będzie odpowiadał.
The big man tapped. Submission by strikes.
Ten pojedynek. Mariusz więcej. Koniec.
Not something you see often, but then again, there's not many like Pudzianowski. First round finish. No damage taken, just total control. Butterbean came in with a puncher's chance. He left smothered, battered, and tapping out under the weight of a storm.
Mariusz Pudzianowski.
Pudzianowski also stepped into the cage with Erko Jun, a chiseled newcomer with muscles for days and a rising MMA resume to match. They traded early, both landing clean shots. Pudzianowski let Jun come forward, absorbed what he needed to, and answered with punches that carried weight you could feel through the screen.
Trying to pull you down, but this is where Yun now comes into his own. He'll be looking for the strikes.
By round two, the tide had turned. Jun's pace slowed. Pudzianowski smelled blood. He marched him down, unloaded with fists that didn't just land, they crushed.
Pujan on the ropes, on the wire. Gets the double leg.
To pass with 3 minutes on the clock. That's a lot of trouble there for Yun. And
Multiple shots wobbled Jun, another followed, and the referee saw enough. TKO. Done.
for Erko Yun.
He's thinking about taking an arm. For a set for giving a warning here. This looks close.
Well, that's it. It's all over.
The younger man came in faster, flashier. But in the end, it was the veteran who stood taller, smarter, stronger, and still a problem no one wants to solve. That was definitely a destruction. But this next one is on another level. Pudzianowski was staring down Rolls Gracie Jr., a legacy name with black belt credentials and a last name that screams ground game. From the first second, Gracie had one plan: get in close, drag the Polish tank into deep water, and drown him in jiu-jitsu.
Odpalamy, miejmy nadzieję za chwilkę, prawdziwe, ciężkie bomby.
Now, Gracie wanted this win, but every time he tried to close the gap, he was met with stiff jabs and thudding leg kicks.
Pudzianowski z kolei jest cięższy, ale widać,
Then came the turning point.
że jest inaczej zbudowany.
Midway through the first, Gracie leaned in just an inch too slow, and Pudzianowski detonated a right hand that cracked like thunder.
Że jest inaczej zbudowany.
Gracie's legs wobbled, eyes glazed. That was all the opening Pudzianowski needed. He swarmed. Fists from every direction until the referee had no choice but to step in. The jiu-jitsu ace never got his chance. The mat never came. Pudzianowski didn't just survive the grappler. He broke him before he could even begin. So, what's your favorite knockdown from the list? Comment down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.